Week one of NFL free agency is over. Are the Cardinals really going into the draft with the expectation Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterbacks? And who else could they target early in the draft?
Meanwhile, in Philly, A.J. Brown still hasn't been traded. Will Howie's price come down after teams loaded up on wide receivers, or will he stand pat with his lofty price tag? Also, has the most recent Eagles signings tipped their hand on some future blockbuster trades? We'll read the tea leaves on this episode of Birds Coast to Coast.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 10 of Birds Coast to Coast. Wake up! This is our 10th episode. I don't know where you've been these first 9 episodes. I'm happy for all 5 of you that have been listening. Thank you to those 5 who are listening. You guys are real ones. Thank you. Anyway, back to today's episode. Yeah, so free agency just ended. We had our first week of free agency, and so we really had a little bit of a late push of a bunch of recent developments. So after that first wave of initial free agent signings, you usually get like that kind of lull in the wave of free agent signings. You get like the first big guys that we kind of covered in our last week of podcast. But for a 3 or 4 day stretch, we really didn't have much going on, right, Tanner? It was kind of dead.
I legit thought the Cardinals forgot that the deadline was last week. It was that inactive, for at least for the Cardinals. Well, for you guys too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was pretty boring, honestly. I mean, it was nothing really happening. But I think what happened was it gave teams a kind of a chance to sit back, reassess, and figure out where the holes were after the first wave of free agency. And this is where like you start seeing those like sneaky veteran signings, like guys who's kind of like on their third contract, and you're like, oh, he's a veteran fit, maybe he'll fit in. And that's where the Eagles and Cardinals kind of made a little bit of inroads this week with a little bit of signings. And some of those kind of speak to maybe potential larger moves. So we wanted to give a chance to kind of talk about what those moves were around the NFL, because there were some big moves these past few days. And we're going to talk about what that means, not just for our teams, but for the NFL as a whole. And I guess wrap up with some positional breakdowns, because the next 4 weeks are going to be mostly draft centered. And we're going to be really focusing on what we're going to be really wanting to see our teams tackle, and not just the last part of free agency, but in the NFL draft. So that's going to be really important. So, Tanner, who was the big name wide receiver that got traded this week that was not A.J. Brown?
So, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, I believe the Dolphins and the Broncos wanted to celebrate by trading Jaylen Waddle from Miami to Denver. Compensation was Denver got Jaylen Waddle and a 2026 fourth round pick. And then in exchange, the Dolphins received the 30th overall pick, a third round pick, and a fourth round pick. So
yeah.
Easiest way to think of it, the fourth rounder is essentially just wash. So it was Jaylen Waddle for a first and a third.
So for those who might not know as much about football or these players as much as we do, could you give them a quick breakdown of like who Jaylen Waddle is as a player, and like where he went to school, and kind of like his career trajectory, to see where he kind of matches up against our next conversation topic, which is AJ Brown? Like, how does that kind of relate? So who is Jaylen Waddle, and how do you see him kind of faring? As, and this is an overpay? Was it an underpay? Do you think this was fair? What do you think he was as like his assessment?
So Jaylen Waddle, he was drafted in 2020. Yeah, 2020, right?
Yes, he was the Devontae.
Okay.
No, 2021. He was the Devontae draft.
Okay. And he was drafted 6th overall by the Miami Dolphins after essentially a 3-way trade. Technically, there were 2 separate trades, but because they happened within 20 minutes of each other, I'm pretty certain that the 3 teams kind of negotiated amongst each other because they wanted to get their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
He's from Alabama. He was a part of some pretty good receiving rooms in Alabama, which they've had quite a few of. His superpower is his speed. Yeah, which, I mean, looking back at how Miami, how they operated, that was pretty much a prerequisite if you wanted to be considered. But yeah, they added him in the draft a couple years ago. He got an extension 2 years ago, got somewhere in the like $25 million a year range. So I believe it was close to the top of the market at the time. Right now, 25 million. I mean, that's wide receiver 2 money.
It is.
Now as far as compensation, where do I stand on it? I think it was pretty good value from Denver's perspective. Um, it's a late first. I mean, it's almost as late as you can get. It's the 30th overall pick and
Yeah.
a third rounder. Uh, he's still pretty young. He's still one of his, 26, 27 years old. Might not even be that old anymore. Um, he's always like I always think of his skill set as like just as a weapon. While he can be a high volume player, I think like I said, his true superpower is his speed. He's going to take the top off of defense. He's going to force you to always defend that. He's going to open up, passing lanes for other guys. I really like the fit in Denver. I like the price that they got him for as well. I think Miami people know they're kind of in a rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't want to say quite a fire sale, but I mean they're looking to see everyone has a price, and the price might not be as high, knowing that they're looking to focus on next year's draft. I like the deal for the Broncos. I don't think it was a terrible. I generally, I mean, I think it's a fair price, but I think coming out of that, I was more excited for Denver.
Well, yeah. Anytime you can have a young rookie quarterback and you add that stud receiver, you expect to kind of get that kind of level of excitement to kind of add that superstar type receiver. I remember when Jalen Hurts added AJ Brown, and Matt Ryan back in the day got added like Julio Jones. So like all these young players, these young rookie or rookie deal quarterbacks get these superstar receivers, and that's kind of what you want to do when you're that team, is maximize that young cheap deal as much as you can and add those veteran superstar players to kind of complement the roster.
Mhm.
Um, and with Jaylen Waddle, I mean, yes, I remember when he broke out in the scene, he had like 100 catches his rookie year. And as an Eagles fan, I was looking at Devontae Smith like, oh man, like, oh, what happened here? Like, did we pick the wrong? Did we get the wrong Bama receiver? But I would say their careers have kind of leveled out in terms of like where they're both kind of seen. I think they're seen pretty similarly. Um, but Jalen Waddle, I mean, as a Madden player, I mean, he's the guy you always go after early in those fantasy drafts just to manipulate the defense with his speed. I mean, we're talking like lightning fast. But the Dolphins have almost kind of throttled him down a little bit and kind of used him as more of a possession receiver because they had Tyreek Hill. I mean, you have the best deep threat in his generation, so you don't necessarily need Jalen Waddle to kind of like become like the top speed guy on the team because Tyreek is the fastest guy in the league. And of course, that offense was all predicated on speed. Mike McDaniel's offense is speed, 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 and now it's nothing because they're all gone. But it's amazing how fast things can change. It's so funny. The only player that's left on that offense that's even worth a spit is Devon Achane. So, and apparently, I saw a report where they're not trading him. I just love that, like in
It had to
in
be
a world
said.
where you're trying to get the timelines all lined up to see where you can compete and be at a competitive level. It's like let's hold on to the speed back.
Right.
Let's hold on to the speed back who's who trajectory wise running backs don't last as long as a receiver does, but
I feel
that's the
like
guy we want to
that's
hold
the
on to.
piece you want to add last, like
Yes.
the final piece, and yet they're almost treating them like a foundational piece.
Yeah, like we're not getting rid of this guy. We're holding on for 4 years. He's going to be Alvin Kamara now by the time you're like competitive again, if you're competitive again. So I guess that's the train they're going, like the Alvin Kamara method with New Orleans, just ride him until he dies. But yeah, back to Jalen Waddle. I do think this is going to be a great fit for Denver. They already have good young receivers. I mean, they don't have. I mean, they have Cortland Sutton, who's not young, but he's solid. They have like what was that? Oh gosh, they had a bunch of younger dudes. I can't think of their name because they all kind of blend together. But they're all pretty quick, fast guys, kind of in the mold of Jalen Waddle, but just nowhere near as good. Um, and I just think Sean Payton's going to utilize his best, skill set. And I don't know if he's going to be the short possession guy that he was. Maybe he will be to take the top off the defense guy. But either way, I think it fits. And I think this is a big deal because there is a report that the Broncos were not interested in A.J. Brown. And I'm tying it back to A.J. Brown for one reason. Because what is football but an arms race? And this conference, a good voice crack there. This conference is, loaded up with superstar young quarterbacks. And each of these young superstar quarterbacks seem to have gotten a new toy this offseason. The Bills got DJ Moore. We got, my goodness, what we got going on? Jaylen Waddle going to the Broncos. And now that leaves our AFC champion Drake May with Romeo Dobbs. You're gonna show up to the bar fight with Romeo Dobbs. That's what you're gonna bring. Not gonna bring a gun. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You're gonna bring a Romeo Dobbs to a Jaylen Waddle fight. Like to a Josh Allen fight. Like I don't get it. Like I mean, listen, I love Romeo Dobbs. He's a solid. He reminds me like Jason Avant from back in the day. But like, let's be real. Is Romeo Dobbs gonna light the world on fire for your team? No, he's not. So that leads me back to one Arthur Juan Brown. All right. AJ Brown for the Eagles. Howie Roseman has been very firm on his price since the beginning, higher than I ever thought it would be. I was very happy with it being a second round pick. He wanted a first and a second. Holy crap. And I thought from the get-go, and I'm sure you guys have been hearing this on pod after pod after pod, I just think he's been like highballing people. Like there's no way that anyone would ever meet that price. The Rams entered in for a little bit, and they said, nope.
That was crazy.
Too rich for our blood. And then this report recently came out that the Rams were scared away by A.J. Brown's knees. Like his medicals came back from his knees, and they weren't very good on their side. So again, I think we're seeing a lot of PR negotiation, through the reporting. Trying to win the PR battle. Say, oh,
how does that work? How do the okay?
How do the Rams have medicals?
That sounds like a Max Crosby thing, right?
Yeah,
but they don't get that info until after the terms are agreed upon.
Yeah,
obviously, pending a physical.
Is the Rams doctor like in the Eagles facility?
I didn't see anyone say, "Hey, like pending a physical, AJ Brown to the Rams."
Nope.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying I haven't heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was just a report. Again, don't know where they came up with that, but that's just a report. Adam Schefter reported today that AJ Brown has in fact requested a trade. So this is about as official as this isn't, speculation anymore. Oh yeah, this isn't just speculation anymore. This is from Shefty. AJ Brown has conveyed at some point, he said that he wishes to be traded from the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is officially a thing. This isn't just conjecture. This isn't subjective opinion. This isn't just reading the tea leaves. These are facts. He wants to be out. It's a matter of when, not if.
Does this change leverage at all, or was it just already understood?
I think a lot of teams already knew that. I mean, AJ Brown's going to the combine, letting teams know he's available. I think that in that moment, it kind of lets cats out of the bag. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't think agents will be walking around the combine asking about, team availabilities and if they're interested in their client or if they were happy. I don't see Devontae Smith's agent walking around saying, "Hey, Ravens, you want to give us a first round pick?" I don't see that happening. But that leads us back to the Patriots. Now, it does seem like it's a bidding war against the Patriots. Like it's them against them. But the problem is there's been a price tag here. It's set. But the problem is, does it apply to the Eagles? Who knows? Like, at some point, it's just a blinking contest. We're just like, who's going to blink first? I don't know. I mean, is Howie going to blink? Is he going to get that first and a second round pick? At this point, if you were to hold my feet to the fire, I'd say no. We're not going to get a first and a second round pick. At this point, I'd be happy.
I feel very confident you're not going to get a first and
I'd be ecstatic if we just got a first. Honestly, I would be. What was that?
How old is he?
He's a year older than Waddle, so I don't know what he thought of Waddle, but he's like 1 year older than Waddle. So I think Waddle's actually like 27. I don't think he's that young.
Okay, AJ Brown is 28. He'll be 29 by the start of the season.
Okay, so yeah, again, I think it's interesting because if you look at AJ Brown numbers and like Jaylen Waddle's numbers, I think AJ Brown has better numbers. So I think if you're using that as a comp, like you could say like he's been more productive. which I find so hilarious because all I ever hear about is that Jalen Hurts can't get in the ball. But whatever, I guess that's not always true. It doesn't fit everyone's narrative. When it's cool, it's cool. It's AJ Brown's had his best years of his career here, but apparently Jalen can't do it. Whatever.
I did look. I looked at his stats. There's been a pretty significant drop off the last 2 years. I would say
he
it's been about a 35% drop off.
Would you be shocked to know that he missed 35% of the games a year ago? so that
Okay, so
yeah,
on a per game basis, then he's keeping pace. Then
yeah,
the year I'm talking about, right? He had over 100 catches, 1,400 yards.
yeah, no, yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
And 2023 he had a great year too because I think he set the NFL record for most consecutive 150-yard games or 125-yard games or something like that. So we were force feeding him the ball. He was doing great with us in 2023 as well. 2024, Saquon shows up. Sorry, I mean, again, like I'm sorry, like Saquon shows up. He's like the best running back in the league. And last year he was, at least. So like, yeah, there's going to be a step back. The volume's just not going to be there. But I'm not going to get into an AJ Brown rant. I think he's crazy for wanting out, to be honest. But if he wants out and he wants to go, be fanboys with the Patriots. Hey, we're all Patriots, right? That Patriots pod, that was a great moment. I knew it was over when I heard he was going on a Patriots pod. And I knew it's so funny because he recorded that pod like weeks before it aired. Weeks. Okay, that wasn't something that like what we do where we post it the night it happens. We don't do that. They didn't do that. Join Edelman and Gronk aren't that cool like us. We get you guys the hot and fresh takes right out the oven as soon as we say them. They record things at the Super Bowl and don't release it until late February. So yeah, I don't know why.
That much editing? Like, geez.
Yeah, I don't get it. But like as soon as I heard that he was going on, I was like, yeah, it's over. Because I know him. I know him. He's gonna do something. It's not gonna be clear, but it's gonna be something. And this thing that happened was like the wink, hey, and then the guy said, oh, are you gonna be a Patriot next year? Like, again, I was listening to radio and one of the guys on WIP said, imagine if it was Bryce Harper on the A's guy and on like an A's pod, and they said, hey, we're all athletics, or hey, are you going to be an athletic next year? Imagine, I don't know, like Devin Booker going on like a Knicks podcast and they go, hey, we're on Knicks. Like that's weird, right? It'd be weird. You wouldn't like it. You would find it weird. So if you play that game with other athletes, it stops being funny and cute just because AJ's doing it. No, it's weird. It's weird and it needed to be called out. I'm glad it got called out. And yeah, it basically damaged the fan base's respect for him to a point where it's like, all right, well, bye. So yeah, I don't know what we're going to get out of him. I don't know who's going to blink first. Look, if the Patriots want him so damn much, give us a first. Give us what Howie wants. Because at the end of the day, we're the Eagles. We had a receiver doing crunches on a we had T.O. doing crunches on his front lawn for all the media to see. We can handle wide receiver drama. Bring it. Let it happen. And you know what the crazy thing is? AJ Brown, he's actually a great teammate. He like his the locker room presence is like stellar. His teammates love him. He is like everyone's like friend. He's a lot of friend. He's a friend with like every player except for Jaylen. And and like the team like absolutely adores him. The coaches adore him. Like everyone adores him. So like if he were to show up, I don't think he would do the crunches and pull a TO. I don't think he would do that. So go ahead, Patriots. Make our day. Like force our bluff. Give us back our 29-year-old or 28-year-old Pro Bowl receiver. Oh, we'll hate it. We'll hate it, So,
okay, well, hold on. Let me ask you this. Do the Patriots need AJ Brown more than the Eagles need to get rid of him?
I think that's up to Howie. I mean, honestly, like I could just see Howie saying, "All right, well, we'll bring him back." Like at the end of the day, like I don't. Again, AJ is well liked in that locker room. Howie might just be thinking and saying, like, "Look, he ain't actually gonna do anything crazy. He ain't gonna do anything crazy. He won't do anything crazy. He'll be fine. What's he gonna do? Hold out? He ain't gonna hold out. And what if he does hold out? If he holds out, he'll maybe have some paychecks. So like, let him hold out. So I think Howie's done this game so many times, and I think he's going to get exactly what he wants. I don't know if it's going to be like a first and a second, but you know how like when you do the whole like when you do like your negotiating, you shoot high, but your actual goal's like right here. I don't know if he actually wants a first and a second. I think he probably wants something like a first and a third or a first and a fifth. And I think he's waiting for it to come down to that level or up from like just a first, and then he'll, say, all right, cool, we'll do a first and a third.
Do you think teams are actually offering a first and a fifth, or
I
do you
think
think
so.
you think we're at like a second?
Well, what makes it interesting is Howie was quoted last week as being someone who is trying to make the deal work with creative possibilities. So, or like trying to be creative with the trade. And I think we kind of covered it last week where I don't understand why it would be something he would want to get creative with if it wasn't something that he wasn't already happy with the package. Like, if you like, why would you get creative on something that you weren't interested in receiving in return? Because like he wanted to try to like figure out a way to make the cap situation work, and if the cap situation isn't necessarily great right now, and for those who don't know, we would basically be on the hook for 40 million in dead cap this year if we trade him before June 1st. But if we trade him after June 1st, it would be split into two chunks of 20 million per year in this year's cap and then 2027 cap. Howie, I think, is, as he likes to spread things out over multiple years, he's trying to figure out a way, or at least was reported to try to find a way to make it like a trade that counted after June 1st. So he was, quote, trying to get creative, but you can't do that with trades. That's not how that works. So I don't know. I feel like if he was truly happy with the compensation, he wouldn't be trying to get creative. He'd be like, well, no, I don't like this. Why would I even try to get creative if I didn't like what I was getting? Does that make sense? Does that sound logical at least? Why
Yeah,
would
I
he
mean,
even
it
begin?
makes sense.
What?
Why would you get creative for something you didn't want to do?
Exactly, right? So I do think there have been offers.
It's on the other team's responsibility to get creative with how
Exactly.
they
That's
want to
somewhat,
do it.
yeah, it's like a position of like, it's a position where he has to reach out and figure out a way
Or
to make it work.
it's not that he doesn't want to do it, is that he has to do it because AJ Brown's you know put the team in a position where he's like, I could just blow this whole thing up.
Man, wouldn't that be crazy?
I want to throw out one team though that I don't think I've seen anyone else mention as a potential suitor, and it might be difficult, and this might be the reason why. Because if the Eagles are really holding firm to a first round pick, I mean, they're clearly not going to offer it. What about the Raiders?
Ooh. Well, I
They
think
can't. They have
Howie
the first overall pick. That's going to to Mendoza. Like, you're not getting that one, obviously.
Howie doesn't mind waiting years. I think I bet you if they said, "Hey, we'll give you a 2028 first," I think he'd consider it. Like honestly, like why not? Like he knows he'll be there. Like 2027, because I don't think the Raiders would even budge on a 2027 because at this point you probably think they're going to be rebuilding next year too with the rookie quarterback, and I don't think jettisoning off that next year first round pick would be smart on their behalf unless they have two. They might have two firsts. Well, they haven't traded Max
No,
Crosby yet.
they
So.
did.
They
They traded
did, and then
they traded
yeah,
two first for Max Crosby.
yeah, that's true. So I don't know if
Steve
they'd be
Young.
willing to give up to 2027 first, but maybe the 2028. But I do like the fit. I do think they definitely need receivers out there in Oakland, or sorry, not Oakland, Las Vegas. I keep getting that mixed up. But yeah, maybe that's something that you would want to jettison out 2 years out. But who knows? Maybe that is something that how we can get creative
I
on.
mean, the obvious fit is New England. They have the need, they have the capital to do so, and then they have the Vrabel connection because he was his head coach in Tennessee. It makes all the sense in the world. I'm just saying, like, if you want to expand that, possibly because at this point, the Bills traded for DJ Moore. They traded a second round pick. The Broncos traded a first and a third for Jaylen Waddle. Even not even in the trade market, but like the free agent market where Mike Evans goes to Tampa Bay. Like,
San Francisco.
oh yeah, San
You said Tampa
Francisco.
Bay.
From Tampa Bay.
And yeah, and other teams too, like Baltimore. I think Baltimore's going to sit on their hands and not add a receiver.
They tend to do something late. It seems like
Yeah.
whether it's Odell Beckham Jr. or There was someone, DeAndre Hopkins. They tend to go a little bit cheaper, I think. Um, but yeah, a lot of there's not really that many wide receiver needy teams to begin with, just because there seems to be so many quality wide receivers. But you're kind of running out of options now. I don't know. I thought about the Raiders fit. I thought it made a lot of sense. Like we mentioned with Bo Nix, you got a rookie contract quarterback. I mean, it just seems par for the course. You always got to pair him with, a stud wide receiver. You're about to get your rookie quarterback contract, with Mendoza. I don't know. Makes sense to me.
No, I like it.
I actually like what the Raiders have done this offseason. I don't know money wise that they could make it fit because I think that they did. I don't think they were planning on having the Max Crosby contract come back to them. Maybe if they had those first round picks, maybe it would be brought up more. I'm sure Howie would have loved it.
Do you think, I heard this on the radio and then, I was, contemplating this. I was interested to hear it. They said when we traded Carson Wentz, you know, Carson was very adamant about going to Indianapolis. It was, and like Chicago got involved, but apparently they heard that like he was very adamant to go work with Frank Reich, and he was like, and they were like, whatever. Do you think there's a little bit of that where like AJ Brown's made it publicly known because there's been like not that many suitors as much as you would think, right? Do you think
So
that people hear that it's AJ Brown wants to go to New England and they're just like, you know what? I'm not getting involved with this. Like I'm not going to be used as leverage for a guy to just go to a team he wants to go to. So there's no point in me even entering in this market.
I think if you're a certain quality of player, you inherently kind of have a no trade clause. I know some players actually have no trade clauses, but then there's some players who have like a soft no trade clause.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, if I'm trading for a guy, a lot of the times you even want to like go ahead and once you get the deal done, you sign him to an extension, you lock him up, because you lose all leverage. Because if you don't lock him up right then and there, you kind of like it's the same concept with AJ Brown. Imagine if you traded for him and he just genuinely didn't want to be there. Do you
Yeah.
really want to just trade whatever capital it takes to get him and then be the Eagles?
Well, it's like Antonio Brown. Remember when he got
Or
traded to the
Antonio
Raiders?
Brown? Yeah.
Yeah, he just didn't. He was like, I don't want to be here. and
So, but
he
like
kept kicking.
it
And then you know
essentially,
where he went? Didn't he go to the Patriots?
yeah,
Yep.
and then Tampa Bay
Time's a
with Tom
flat
Brady.
circle. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like a lot of these players have a no trade clause in their contract that they don't realize. So,
Yeah.
I think he may have that.
Because like the idea that like because I remember this whole offseason I'll be like, we're gonna have Baltimore, we're gonna have Kansas City, we're gonna
Right, but
have
like
Buffalo.
they had needs. You weren't wrong. They just filled them. Right? I mean, there was a point where Buffalo did not have DJ Moore.
But I'm just
Clearly,
wondering if Buffalo thought to themselves, look, AJ Brown really wants to go to New England. I'm not gonna overpay just for an AJ Brown to be like, nah, I don't want to go there.
right.
Like that'd be a problem. So, and you know what? But you know what? Howie has a history of still getting a good deal. And you know what? At the end of the day, we still got great value for Carson Wentz.
To be fair to Howie, when's the last time the Eagles made a move and you're like, oof, like that was.
Well, you know what's funny?
expensive
You want to know what my first thought was? Hassan Reddick, and it still turned out great.
Did you get a third?
Well,
Conditional third?
we got a third, but it was 2 years out, and it was
Because
like
you
a
had to add
year.
a condition to it,
What?
right? Didn't you have to add a condition to it? It was
It was a third that could become a second based on
yeah,
playing time or sacks.
and he didn't
And he didn't,
play.
and he just showed up and didn't play, and he barely got any sacks. So like but the good thing is the third round pick this year is like a top 5 third round pick because the Jets were terrible. So it's like it's almost a second, It's that whole thing, like a late second's pretty much a third, and an early third's pretty much a second. Love that. You can never lose that way. But at the time, a lot of people, including myself, were like, "You just traded our best pass rusher. What did you do? Why?" You know what I mean? Like we just, after 2023, our team collapsed. Jason Kelsey's retired, and all of a sudden, we're trading our guy who we felt like had a steal of a contract for like $15 million a year, and he was producing like 15 sacks a season. You're like, yeah, let's get rid of him because like Hassan Reddick was holding out and didn't like his contract, and people were like, no, pay him, pay him. He's getting 12 to 18 sacks a year, and his first 2 years as an Eagle, and you're just like, you know what? But I get it because he signed a 3-year deal, and he was signed at like what 13 to 15 million. And but that's his fault. Like he you can't be asking for a contract after because I think after his first year after 2022 he was wanting a contract extension, and people were like, dude, you just signed your contract extension last year. Like you don't want we just signed you just signed your contract this year with the Eagles. You can't be asking for an extension 1 year into a 3-year deal. And then after the second year, that's when he made a big stink about it, and then he got traded to the Jets. So yeah, that was probably the last one where I was upset about. And then the next year we won the Super Bowl. So hey, you know what? Shows what I know. But no, I can't really think of a time where Howie gets fleeced on a trade. That's off. That's like honestly, you know what? I'm gonna make a caveat. That is in the off season. Boy gets rope-a-doped in mid-season trades. Like my goodness, the amount of money that's gone to like Robert Quinn's and like or like a third
Yeah, but
round
those
pick
were
for
smaller like
Golden Tate, well, these are all third round picks, like third, and I think third
yeah,
round
and
picks
how
are
many compensatory picks do you get a year and a half later that you
every
don't
single. Well, no, that's
remember?
part of the plan. That is part of the plan. I think Howie stocks up on third round picks, knowing that he'll just get those third round picks back, and
Or at the
when
very
he trades
least,
them.
like borrowing a third this year and getting back, knowing you'll get back a fifth. So like you net out total picks the same. You
Yeah,
just kind of willingly go down in the draft.
yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at with the AJ situation. One last update: Dallas Goedert is back as the tight end for the Eagles. He kind of rounded out our free agent recap for the Eagles. He was pushing his void year back or void date back, so basically prolonging his free agent status or his I guess not his free agent status, but when he would become a free agent. And the Eagles were able to get the contract in before Sunday ended, and that was able to save us some cap space and give us a Dallas Goedert at 1 year for $7 million, which I think is pretty decent deal for a tight end of his caliber who had like 10 touchdowns last year. And I think that pretty much rounds out our tight end room, unless we want to add like a rookie, kind of like do the whole like Brent Selleck to Zach Ertz to Dallas Goedert thing. So maybe we'll go tight end in the first round. But as of right now, he's the starter. And so that's pretty. Oh, and for those that are counting at home, I remember we talked about with Brett a couple pods ago, like which of the 4 free agents would we expect to be back? It was just Dallas Goedert. Everyone else left. So, kind of the least happy version of that. So,
I don't know if this is considered breaking news, but do you remember a couple weeks ago there was that report by Adam Schefter saying that there was a team that proposed trading draft picks 5 years out into the future instead of 3?
yes, it was the Browns.
Oh, okay. When did you learn this?
A couple minutes ago.
Oh,
Not
okay. So
during the
you're
pod. It was like right before we hopped on. I saw the tweet. I was
okay.
like, oh,
Well,
5 years
I thought
out.
I thought it was an interesting proposal. I mean, I was curious what the team would be. I thought the Cardinals could have fit that mold just because we'd be interested in trading. Because you think you trade big picks for a quarterback, right? Like you're not gonna trade more than 3 first round picks for anything other than a quarterback,
Yeah,
unless you're Howie and you think you have an awesome wide receiver, I guess.
he does. We'll get it
But
first. So what's going on in Cardinals land, Tanner?
really not much.
That's it. And
um,
that's the end of that. That's the end of that
yeah.
segment. Tune in next week.
Yeah, so I figured we kind of go over some potential room for growth, I guess, on the roster. Going over the depth chart. Um, yeah, so I went over the depth chart. There were too many, but there were a handful of positions that I think that we should look at targeting in the draft. Um, I think we could talk about the whole best player available versus need debate.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're fortunate where those kind of, fall in line, or sometimes you're, I guess, fortunate for the wrong reason where you just have so many needs that whoever the best player available
Yeah, you
is,
just take them.
it happens to also be a need because, you know, your team's just not that good. Um, so as far as the offensive line goes, I'm actually pretty satisfied with what we have. We have Paris Johnson at left tackle. I would expect he get a contract extension.
Yeah.
He's now eligible. We should be hearing that his 5th-year option is being picked up soon. I would expect a 5th-year some kind of contract extension with him. Isaac Seumalo, we just signed him from the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 3-year contract.
Solid guard.
He's pretty solid. I'm genuinely surprised he signed with us, just because I would have expected he go somewhere else that had higher hopes to win. Elijah Froholt, the center, he's graded out pretty well since we signed him from the Cleveland Browns. Those are the 3 strong spots. Right guard, Isaiah Adams. We drafted him 2 years ago. I think he's had some good moments, but I just right now I think he's penciled in as a starting right guard. I think there's room to improve there, but given that he was he was a 3rd-round pick, it's about as cheap as you're going to get for a starting offensive lineman. So my bar of like what I would expect from that position is going to be lower. So I'm 50-50 on him, but it's the right tackle spot. That has me concerned. I know the draft hasn't happened, and I guess we could still sign someone in free agency. I just don't know what right tackles, worth their salt are available at this time. Right now, we have Matt Pryor, the former Eagle, right now slotted in to be our starting right tackle. This may just be set for us to take a right tackle at number 3 in the draft. I don't know what I think. I think the general consensus is there's some good right tackles. 3 might be a little rich. I think the top guys you could probably say I like them, but they're probably in that 8 to 15 range as far as like overall value. So taking a guy at number 3 from 8 to 15, that might be a little tough to swallow. But I don't know. I'm looking at how we're building this roster. It just seems like we're primed to take a right tackle at number 3.
Well, I mean, at this point in the draft process, I mean, you really want to make sure when you're drafting the 3rd pick, you want to make sure you land a blue chipper. And I feel like when you look at these offensive linemen, you want to leave with an. I remember it kind of reminds me of the Paris Johnson draft. Like I felt good with the Cardinals leaving with a franchise left tackle or right tackle. I mean, you never feel bad taking a tackle that high up. I mean, what I think we took Lane Johnson at like 4 when we took him in 2013. So I mean, and look, it wasn't sexy. It was not sexy, And I think that was the draft where there was like 4 offensive tackles. And it was like Jokel, Eric Fisher, and then he was the 3rd guy. And I was like, oh, so we're taking the 3rd tackle at number 4. I was crying into my Little Caesars pizza in Greenville. So yeah, so that was not necessarily like something I was happy about, but it turned out to be a Hall of Fame tackle. So you never know. Take the talent when you can take it.
It is weird to say you're taking the 3rd tackle, 4th overall. That was a unique draft where Lane Johnson probably was a top 5 overall player, though. Like, it kind of fit, even though it just happened to be the 3rd at the 4th spot.
And the crazy thing is the other 2 dudes were not even close to as good as Lane Johnson. No. It wasn't like this was like, oh, well, you got Hall of Famer 1 and Hall of Famer 2 going 1 and 2, and this is just Hall of Famer 3.
No, but as a prospect, they were highly thought of.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of like missing out on a quarterback. Like, you're going to tell me those number 1 and 2 picks wouldn't have rather have taken of Lane Johnson?
Right.
Like that they missed out. It's the same position.
It is funny that you mentioned the Paris Johnson draft because we had the 3rd overall pick that year. That was the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud draft.
Yeah.
And we were sitting at number 3. best player available at the time, I probably would have said is Will Anderson. Uh, Will Anderson was highly thought of, but I don't think he was in the Nick Bosa, Chase
No,
Young tier. And
he
remember,
wasn't.
we got to look at it at that time. He's there now, but at the time, he wasn't necessarily a can't miss, flawless prospect. Paris Johnson was probably in that 7 to 10 range. But what was unique about that, I think this team is better than what that roster looked like in 2023. So, like I was saying before, anyone was going to make the team better. So you truly
Mm-hmm.
could have just gone best player available. Monty Ossenfort, he manipulated the draft order a little bit. He went from number 3 down to 12, and then moved back from 12 to 6
Yeah.
to get Paris Johnson. It's funny that you mentioned the comparison because I see it very similarly here as well. Ideally, I think you want to fill right tackle. I just don't think there's going to be an opportunity to trade down. There's one team I'm looking at that I think you could make a real strong argument to do so. And we can talk about that, but I don't see moving down being really that much of an option.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's like taking Paris Johnson number 3 overall, if we want to do the comparison. At the end of the day, I would support it. That's actually the pick I would make is I would take Francis Mauigoa from Miami at number 3 if we had to stick and pick.
That would be a good pick. I mean, again, like I was really surprised to hear that you guys feel good about 3 of your 5 offensive lineman positions. I mean, if you could leave the draft feeling good about 4 out of 5, I mean, that's solid. I mean, like honestly, if you have
Yeah.
4 out of 5, you can figure out the 5th guy. You know what I mean? And just make it work. You know, the 4 other guys should be able to overcome that problem. And once
Paris Johnson, he's been interesting because we took him 6th overall, and ideally, you probably are like with hoping you have expectations he'll be a top 10 at his position. He's probably in that like 10 to 15 range. So I think we're getting quality play from him. Per PFF, I think he graded at number 23 last year. But the prior 2 years, he was definitely in that teens range. You could probably chalk it up to just inconsistent play around him as well. I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. Isaac Sayamalu, he's been just solid for years. I mean, he ranks in that 10 to 15 range at guard. Elijah Frohold's actually been really good. I think he was the number 6 rated center last year. And I think he was a top 10 the year prior. So, yeah, ever since he's been with us, Frohold's been great. Isaiah Adams, I mean, you know, he's probably in that like 40 range amongst, you know, qualified 80 guards or so. But given what we're actually allocating him, like salary wise, I don't know. I think you're getting bang for your buck there. And so that just leaves a glaring hole at right tackle. Uniquely, I think the 2 best tackles in this draft happen to be right tackles. That's not always the case. Actually, that's rarely the case. I think typically the best guys tend to be on the left side. I think there's actually an opportunity here where you got to take advantage of that, where the best guy fits the need. And so, I mean, that's why I lean towards Mauigoa.
All right, cool. So I think that kind of gives us a good breakdown of where we're at right now with our teams. We wanted to really focus in on like some of the positions of need heading into the later parts of free agency and the NFL draft, seeing as we're going to really start focusing on the offensive, defensive, and do some mock drafts for our teams over the next 4 pods. But we want to give like a rundown of like where we feel like our positional units are weakest so we can really target that area after the free agency, because now that free agency's first a couple waves are done, at least we assume that our teams have filled a couple of those voids. So now we're going to figure out where the voids still remain and what exactly the hierarchy of needs are. So Tanner, you did a wonderful job kind of dictating where you felt your positional needs are on the spreadsheet. What exactly were some of the takeaways that you noticed after doing the spreadsheet breakdown of your positional units?
I was actually higher on the roster after doing this than I thought I would be.
That's good.
Yeah, but I think here's why. Monty Ossenfort, since he's been the GM for 3 years, has made 28 draft picks. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. Every team's allotted 7 a year, so you would expect 21. We've
Yeah.
made 28 picks.
Okay.
So I'm factoring in the contract on top of where they are in the depth chart
Mm-hmm.
into that. Well, that's 28 cost controlled players. So even if a handful of them aren't necessarily like hits, I do find that there is value in just having depth,
Yeah.
quality, affordable depth. And so I'm probably a little bit higher on the roster than I would think the general public is. But that doesn't mean like we have, no holes whatsoever. And I guess this is where if we want to target potential guys at number 3, I know we just talked about right tackle. I think a lot of people are targeting edge at number 3 for us because
Mm-hmm.
I think 1, there's a need, and 2, just given the draft this year, that seems to be where the value meets the need. I'm happy. I'm happy about Josh Sweat. I think I think that's the one really good sign. I guess other than Calais Campbell, that's the one good signing that I like that Monty Austinfort's made. I'm good with just like writing it in stone. He's one side of our edge rush. But if you look at the everyone else, you got Zaven Collins, who transitioned from off-ball linebacker, which is already concerning. BJ Ojolari, I forgot he's even on the team. He's got hurt so many times, and it's so disappointing. We drafted him in the second round in
Switched
2023.
up. Jim Rat.
Yeah, and we haven't seen him. I just don't really see much of a future in Arizona. I mean, if he's going to do something, it's likely going to be with someone else.
Wow.
Baron Browning, he's interesting. So he's an analytics queen, or darling, I guess. He is not a high sack guy, but he tends to get a lot of pressures. And it seemed like the public is being more accepting of, hey, even if you don't get sacks, there's a lot of value in pressures. It
Pressures, hurries, quarterback hits, all that good stuff.
right leads to incompletions, maybe even turnovers, whatever, even drawing penalties. But then there's been a little bit of film breakdown on him, and he's almost too reckless with his rushes to a point where you actually see quarterbacks anticipate his pressure, and they almost know where to be given where he's like they know where he's going to end up, so they know where to avoid him.
Oh wow.
And sometimes it was like a pointless rush. It was like, did you know you're just going to rack up a pressure knowing that you probably weren't going to get a sack? And then what value is there in that? His superpower is just his get off. His get off is as good as anyone's that I've seen. I do, but going back to the whole relative to where he's being compensated, he signed a pretty cheap deal last year. It was a 2-year deal, so he's under contract for 1 more year, and it wasn't the biggest investment. So I don't want to complain too much, but in the context of where can we grow, I look at edge and I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know if he's really the end goal here. The last guy I'll mention is Jordan Birch. We drafted him last year in the 3rd round. He was a combine freak. Great 40 times, strength scores, everything. He did put up some good production at Oregon. He's a rookie, so he's got 3 more years under contract. Excited to see what all he can do, but really hasn't done anything quite yet to give me too much confidence. So, yeah, we got Josh Sweat, but I think if we're not going to look at tackle, it's got to be an edge rusher. And there's a couple of guys in this draft. There's Arvell Reese from Ohio State.
Yeah.
He seems to be the versatile guy. He seems to kind of go back and forth between off-ball linebacker and an edge guy. It seems like the expectation, if he's going to go top 5, is he's going to need to be an edge rusher because that's where the value is. He seems to have the athletic ability to do so. But a lot of people see Isaiah Simmons in him, and they get PTSD because he's not, quote, like found a home at one position. And I understand that. I get the concern. Um, there's the guy from Texas Tech, David Bailey. I think he led the nation last year in sacks. So
I don't
really
trust the
great
Tech
production.
lineman.
Right.
I don't.
What was the
Yeah, I
guy
don't think.
from? I think it was from 2023.
Tyree Wilson.
Yep, that's him,
Yep.
Tyree
Yep.
Wilson.
Top 5 pick, didn't do anything. Didn't literally just doesn't do anything.
He didn't get sacks in college, but there's a lot of like the measurables and all that
Oh
stuff that
yeah, yeah. Shows up, doesn't do
in
anything
this
here.
case, David Bailey does have the production. I will say that Texas Tech is a different program. They got a lot of oil money in that program now, so I do trust it a lot more than I do the Tyree Wilson one. And then you got short arm David Bailey or from Miami. We could probably spend a whole another podcast talking about like arm length and stuff.
Prospects.
Yeah. Um, I think he should still be considered in the top 10, but no, there's definitely higher thought of prospects at edge than there are at right tackle, which is why you see probably about half the mock drafts going edge with us. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Now that you have an idea of like what our depth chart looks like, do you see a bigger hole at edge, or do you think right tackle's the way to go?
Well, I think it's right tackle. I think if you ever want to build a team back, you want to start building into the line of scrimmage. I mean, from there on, if you ever want, at some point, you're going to have a rookie quarterback again because you're going to have to rebuild. You're going to have to restart a quarterback, and you want to make sure that offensive line's there to protect him. I mean, if you send a rookie quarterback behind a crappy offensive line, you're just going to get David Carr, and like you're just going to kill him. So I want to make sure.
I want to correct myself. I think I said David Bailey twice. I meant Ruben Bain from Miami.
Ruben Bain, that's right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I
want
do see the Cardinals as a team that is going to be in the March for Arch. That's our new name for Arch Manning. And yes, I did steal that opportunity for me to say it first before you did. So yeah, the March for Arch is on, and
that's okay. We're planning for Manning here.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. The March for Arch is better. But anyway, I think the Cardinals would be better suited to build up that offensive line. Again, not sexy, not sexy at all, but it's a smart thing to do. Something you got to take your medicine. You got to take your medicine. It's going to make you stronger. You got to take your vitamins. This is a take your vitamins draft. This is a eat your vegetables, take your vitamins draft. Don't get cute with it. This draft isn't the type of draft that's like super studded with like a bunch of talent on like the fun positions. It's just. But again, we'll get into that draft later. I might be wrong. I haven't done a lot of studying on it. This is just preliminary ideas from the draft class. But, from what I'm seeing, a lot of people are more excited about 2027 than 2026. But no, I think targeting the offensive line would be a great idea for the Cardinals. Look, you have more than the first round pick, so you can go target lots of other, positions later on. But I would assume that you think right now that the offensive line is your biggest concern, and then the defensive line? Is that kind of your? I guess you rank the two.
It's interesting because I'm looking at our depth chart now, and on the left side, you got Josh Sweat and you got Paris Johnson, and you could say they're probably equal players at each position.
Yeah.
So each side of the ball has a foundational piece. But then on the other side of them, they also have a gaping hole.
Yeah.
So I think there's an equal need at both positions. So there's two ways to look at it. Do you value one position more than the other? And then and this is how I would look at it, which is easier to fill versus which is harder to fill? My gut tells me it is harder to find good offensive linemen because they typically get re-signed and locked up, if the good ones.
Oh, absolutely. Tyler Lindenbaum being on the free agent market was a shock. So yeah, right. that was crazy.
Like the only reason why he was made available is because one, the Ravens do have a limitation on cap space. They got, a Lamar Jackson extension coming up, and that's just the price of typically drafting a lot of good players. But there's a huge flaw in the the franchise tag system where all offensive linemen use the same franchise tag. So you know how
Ooh.
the tag is the top 5
Oh.
salary
Oh,
average?
they just go, wow, I don't like that. I
Yeah,
didn't know
but
that.
there's not a tag for centers or guards or even tackles. But obviously tackles are the most expensive. So the tag was going to be about $28 million for a center, even though top of the market was 20. So it was just kind of a fluky thing where I don't believe that the Ravens wanted to lose him, but
Hmm.
unfortunately it didn't work out in that way. So to your point, yes, Linderbaum types don't become available. Lane Johnson never sniffed the market.
Nope.
Like the best guys get locked up. But we see edge rushers get traded. And honestly, it seems like almost every year. Like there are guys to be had because it's also, especially in the middle of the season, it's an easier plug and play. Sometimes it's just go like see ball, hit ball,
Yeah,
right?
go get the
You
quarterback.
you add a guy in week 8 and you're like, I don't have to tell you how to pass rush. We already know how to do that. So I tend to prioritize an offensive lineman over an edge rusher. But obviously there is like an equal importance because the goal of a right tackle is to stop the edge rusher, and the goal of an edge rusher is to beat the tackle.
Of
So
course.
they work hand in hand. Like
The
they
old
do
yin
have
and
an equal
yang.
importance.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, I think that kind of explains the situation pretty well. I
And
do
in
think as
future weeks, I think we're going to do some mock drafts, and it may really clear up exactly where the value might come in.
yeah,
Where Cardinals have the second pick in the second round, we're probably going to play around and see, okay, let's take a tackle with our first pick. What's available on the second round pick? And then we'll do another one. Okay, let's take an edge. Well, what's available at tackle in the second round? And we'll kind of mix and match and see what pairing you like. Sometimes it's not even just about looking at the first round pick. It's about, well, what does the second round look like, and then what's the best combination.
yeah, of
There
course. You
may
kind of do that with fantasy football too.
Yeah,
You kind of do
exactly.
the
Yeah,
same idea.
exactly. You might not get the best player at that spot in the first round, but it's because if you don't get him here, what you get on the back end is
Is
so
worse.
far less
Yeah,
that you have to secure that position earlier.
exactly. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, it's kind of interesting because that kind of leads into like my positional breakdown for the Eagles as well. I didn't do it the same way that you did, but I did like a top 3 list. Is it cool if I
Hmm.
share mine?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
So I did started with an honorable mention, so I guess I did 4 because I was thinking I did mine, then I just thought about something. I was like, wait a second. So fourth, I guess, or the honorable mention, I will say is wide receiver. And the reason I say that right now is because as of right now, I don't know if AJ Brown is on the team or not. So I didn't feel comfortable putting it on the list because I didn't know exactly where we stood. Because a position that we didn't or I guess a signing that I didn't talk about earlier was the fact that we signed your former receiver, Hollywood Brown. So as of right now, we have Hollywood Brown, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Darius Cooper, who is a undrafted free agent last year who made the team out of training camp. Now, is it the biggest need if we have AJ Brown gone? Yeah, it probably jumps into like my 3 or 2 or maybe even 1 highest need because then we would just have those 2 guys. And I don't even know if Hollywood Brown you would consider to be like a number 2. But I did some digging and I found out that the Eagles' third wide receiver in the past 5 years, whoever that third receiver may be, has made beans compared to what they paid Hollywood Brown. And they didn't pay Hollywood Brown like a ton of money. They paid him like $6 million. Like it wasn't a ton. But apparently, if you add up all the contracts from the past 4 wide receiver threes for the Eagles, they're still less than $6.5 million.
That's
So it's
veteran minimum territory.
yes. So we do not throw to the third wide receiver a lot. Dallas Goddard is the third wide receiver in essence, just because like that's just how the offense has been ran. But we do have a new offensive coordinator. So is this something that's going to change? Like, do we value the third wide receiver? And on top of that, is he a stopgap replacement for AJ Brown if he is to be traded? Now, I don't think Hollywood Brown is like, the be all end all guy who's going to be like the AJ replacement. But in a pinch, could he be a stopgap if we don't land a good first round receiver? Maybe. I don't know. But that's the honorable mention. Third spot I have is safety. And the reason I have it safety is because one, yes, we have a huge need there. Like there's not a lot of bodies back there. We have Andrew Makuba and I guess at the moment Marcus Epps, which is like a veteran minimum replacement that we found in the middle of the year. Solid player who we had back on the 2022 team, but not necessarily someone who's going to like keep
two
us from doing
starters.
that. What? Yeah, those are my two starters. And the only reason I'm not putting them at 2 or 1 is just positional value. Like I don't really think like safety is like the most like amazing need. Like usually we tend to kind of go cheap at safety and just kind of like play guys who just kind of play center field and don't let anything get over their head. So I put them at 3. Number 2 I put is edge. And the reason I put edge is because now that Jalen Phillips is gone, yes, we signed Arnold Ebiketie, and is another guy we signed that I forgot to mention. He's one of your typical like edge rusher guys who comes out for like 40% of the plays. Doesn't have huge sack numbers, gets good hurries. He was a second round pick a few years ago out of Penn State. And he's been healthy, but he hasn't produced as much as you would think he would as a second round pick. And how he scooped him up. And as of right now, like, yeah, he'll kind of be battling with Nolan Smith. But I'm gonna be honest, like, if we go into the next season with like, Nolan Smith and Ebiketie, and on the other side we have Jalix Hunt, I don't know if I'm in love with
Those
that
your top,
tandem.
and those are your top 3.
Are you noticing how you're surprised when you keep saying those questions? Yeah, like, yeah,
This team it's been loaded for so
yeah.
many years, and it just
I mean, yeah, we have Brandon Graham.
kind
He's
of
there, but I don't count
deteriorated
Brandon
really
Graham.
quick.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people wanted to keep Jalen Phillips because we needed. Now, Jalix Hunt had a good year, but he only had like 5 sacks last year. Like it wasn't that great, So he was fine, but he wasn't like a world beater out there. And it was his second year, so maybe he makes a jump. This is like his like third year playing edge, heading into his third year or fourth year. So he started playing edge like late in his college career. He was actually a converted safety, so like he went from safety to edge, which is crazy. So maybe he develops into like more, of a even more talented edge rusher. But again, he was a third round pick. I'm not expecting a bunch. So yeah, I think edge is a big need. I mean, I was one in the earlier part of the year. I was like, dude, I would trade 3 or 4 firsts for Myles Garrett. Like, let's make this thing happen. Let's get crazy in here. Let's get stupid. So let's bring in the goats. But that's why I have edge at number 2, because honestly, like, it's an important position, and we have a lot of like young, unproven dudes. Whereas, like, yeah, they have potential, but they haven't really met it, most of it. And yeah, we have good interior linemen. Like Jalen Carter's a freaking beast. Moro Ojomo's a freaking beast. Jordan Davis is coming into his own. But, if you don't have good edge rushers, yeah, I know they make the edge rushers better by their presence of collapsing the interior pocket. And they're like force multipliers when you have good interior pressure. But you still want good edge rushers. You know what I mean? You still want guys who can get to the quarterback and, knock the ball out. And, it is easier to get around the quarterback or get around the right tackle or left tackle instead of, pushing forward. So, you kind of want those sack artists, and we just don't have that right now. Number 1, I think I mentioned it earlier. This is a draft where you have to take your medicine. In every first round pick, every year, I get a lump in my throat because I think it's going to be the year that we take our medicine. And I think this is the year where we do. I think the biggest position of need right now is right guard / right tackle. I think we need someone who's going to take over for Lane and be the replacement for when he retires. He has like maybe 1 year left. 2 tops. Like I don't think it'd be shocking if he comes back after next year. So late first round pick isn't the best time to take a right tackle. We haven't had great luck taking tackles late in the first and like them panning out. Think Andre Dillard. Think, Danny Watkins. That was a guard, but still, we don't really hit on late first round tackles very well or guards very well,
I
but
don't
like,
think the Eagles are unique in that sense, and
yeah,
that's why I
I
put
just
so much stress on the Cardinals at number 3.
do you think that's a reason why Howie just avoids it? And the fact we had Stoutland, who we could like kind of take guys later in like the
We need
draft.
someone to do some research into what positions are most important to take in the top half of the first round. I'm sure the research would suggest that wide receivers you could probably take as late as day 3 and get some solid production. I mean, I know we have there's guys on day 3 offensive linemen who work out, but really, how many actually work out? You
Yeah,
know, there aren't really that many rugby players from Australia that we can just turn into, all pros at left tackle. But I wouldn't be surprised if the research says, hey, if you want a good one, you got to spend a top 15 pick. You can't even get
probably, yeah.
cheaper. You can't even get discounts in the draft. You got to go all in.
So that's what I'm thinking. It's like, is it even worth getting a guy at pick 20, whatever we have? And it's like, he probably sucks. You know what I
It's,
mean?
it's, it's worth figuring out who the replacement is. I don't have him in front of me, but I've seen the splits of with Lane Johnson versus without.
It's not
It's
pretty.
incredible what just one right tackle can do to an offense. Like, am I wrong on that, or
No, you're right. I mean, that stat's been kind of thrown around for a very long time for the Eagles. And I do think there's some credibility to it. I just think over the span of like a 13-year career, that's a lot of different iterations of a lot of different teams and a lot of different offensive linemen.
okay?
So like I do wonder if like, like was him being missing in a Chip Kelly game the same impact of him being missing in a Doug Peterson game or a Nick Sirianni game? You know
But
what I mean? Like that's
aren't those splits pretty consistent though? Like, just
I think it got better.
win
It used to
percentage is
be
very basic.
awful. It used to be awful. Like way bad. I think we've kind of played 500 ball from like I guess 5 years out from here on out. Like, but I think it was like
Yeah,
the
but
winning
with
percent.
him, if you're playing 750, if you're winning 3 out of 4 games, that's a significant increase from 500.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Like, I know, like, 500 is like if you have a backup quarterback who needs to fill in for 4 games,
yeah.
you would love to go 500. You want to go 2-2. We're talking about a right tackle though. And so for a right tackle to have that kind of an impact, if you want to credit that difference to him,
It's interesting. No, I've always thought it
like,
was a very interesting stat.
and it's easy to combine one offensive lineman with all 5. So like you look at them as a group, but the impact that one single lineman can have, just given the splits of Lane Johnson, I don't know. It's something that caught my eye, and I wouldn't have expected that kind of a split difference.
I also wonder if like the years where he got hurt or had his mental health issues just so happened to coincide with like our years where other things were going wrong. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
quarterback.
It's
You
not
know what
like
I mean? Like
everyone else is healthy except
yeah,
him. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's fair. That's totally fair.
So like in 2020, we had Jamone Brown out there, setting
Who?
records for how bad he was playing. It's like who the heck is that guy? Everyone was hurt, and that was like the worst year of our of like of
And
like
if the
a while.
replacement is well below average,
Yeah,
what does that really prove?
it just proves we didn't roster develop or roster construct very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I got. So it's time to take the medicine in this draft, and that old pit in my stomach and that lump in my throat's going to be around when I start
Wait,
when
so
the
is
Eagles
the
are on the
lump in
clock.
your throat because it's not a sexy position, or because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
reads this is the end of a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, no, it's the not no. It's because I waited months for something that I wanted to get excited about, and it's just a lineman. That's exactly what it is.
Oh, there's
I'm not.
another jersey I'm not gonna buy.
Yep. Oh, it's much easier to buy like a Cooper DeJean jersey or a Devontae Smith
Or when
jersey,
you
but
play video games, you can't really spam an offensive lineman.
yeah, I'm gonna run behind him every play.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's. Oh, one more thing before we move on to the extra point. The Eagles added the red rifle. That's why I'm wearing red. No, I'm just kidding. But no. So the Eagles added Andy Dalton this today, like right before the pod, actually, like a couple hours before. I think we traded like a seventh or a sixth or something, like very very late
I can
round
go
pick.
with 7. Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason why that's notable is because he's 39, and we didn't re-sign Sam Howell, who was our recent third string quarterback. Now, some people, it's so funny. You get two conflicting reports. It's like, oh, he's just going to be the third string veteran, and Tanner McKee's the solid backup, or it's, oh my God, we signed Andy Dalton to be the backup. Tanner McKee's being traded. So, so like those are two like trains of thought right now. I don't know exactly where I fall. Initially, I thought like, oh, this definitely means Tanner McKee's being traded. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think Andy Dalton is viewed as like, you know, a I think he's getting a lot of like nostalgia right now for like what he used to be. But like these past few years in Carolina were horrible. So like I think there's a chance that he's just the third string veteran backup. I don't I unless they blow the Eagles socks off, I do think that there's a chance that Tanner McKee's market just isn't worth moving off of, and might just keep him at a second round as a second string quarterback. I think we might just have Tanner as our backup this year. I'm seeing that the trade's just not going to happen because they're going to want to get like a third round pick. And honestly, if I were a team, I don't know if I'd want to give up a third. There's just not enough to really show off that he's worth a third. And when are you going to do start him? Like the team that you would really do that for is like a team like the Dolphins who got Malik Willis. Well, guess what? They got Malik Willis, so they don't really need Tanner McKee anymore. The Jets, like maybe, like I don't know, like I don't really know that now
That
that
leaves one team I can think of.
yeah, oh, I
Cardinals.
know you. Yeah. Do you have let's see, maybe give us Buda Baker. Buda Baker in a second. We'll just redo the dream team again.
I mean,
Um
honestly, I would.
yeah, yeah. So
Give me a cap space.
yeah, but that's kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about was just the Tanner McKee thing because like I don't know exactly because like after this year he is a free agent. It's crazy to think because I've been on this guy for so long. Like I remember his first preseason game. I'm like, this dude is better than your average sixth round pick. Like this guy's at because look there has been because I'm a freak. I watch preseason games like every snap. Like I actually do watch all the snaps in all the preseason games just to watch for positional battles and stuff. And like so I've seen a lot of like Kyle McCords and Clayton Thorsons and like dudes who we get taken in like the fourth, fifth, and sixth round and like they're quarterbacks and they just kind of suck. And I'm like, dude, these guys don't got it. But man, when Tanner McKee stepped on that field, he starts flinging it. As soon as like Marcus Mariota stepped off the field because he was the second string at the time, I was like, this dude's better than Mariota. Like this dude's way better than Marcus Mariota. So like he can throw it, he can fit it into a window, he throws with conviction, he has good touch on the ball. He's tall, you know what I mean? He's got a good arm. Like we may have found someone, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, so I was really excited about him and I think he's developed pretty well. And last year he had a poor game in the last game of the season, but he was surrounded by a bunch of backups playing starters. But last year he was playing a bunch of starters and beat the Giants and Cowboys with our backups. So I don't know. I think he's a good player. I just don't think a team's going to flip him a second or a third just because he hasn't really shown enough on the field. But man, I want to be honest. Like, if there was a team next year, dude, someone's going to get a steal with this kid. Like, I'm honest, man. Like, I'm being real honest. I think someone's going to sign this kid at like a really small like value, and he's just going to find his way on the field and just like play good quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I'm a Tanner McKee guy. I hope he does well. I just don't think he's going to find that opportunity right now. So, and I definitely don't want Jaylen to get hurt for us to find out. So, that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. You ready for the extra point?
I think so.
The extra point.
Love it. All right. So I'll go first. So my extra point is a scenario. All right. Tanner, imagine you were walking up, and this actually works because you're in the desert. So imagine you were walking up and you're just on the side of the road and you found a briefcase. And inside the briefcase was your classic picturing of, dollar bill on dollar bill on dollar bill, stacks of them. We're talking bands, bands on bands on bands. And we're talking like Let's say it was filled with like $1 million. Okay.
Sweet.
Obviously, you wouldn't take the briefcase, right? Because that'd just be too risky. But is there an amount you would take, like from the briefcase, to where you would feel safe that no one would come after you, or would you just leave it?
Wait, why would I not take the briefcase?
Well, if you take the briefcase, then obviously someone's going to go hunt you down, right? Why would you just leave it?
Oh, so you're suggesting if I only take so much, it's not noticeable.
Yes. How much would you take of the $1 million to where you feel comfortable that you'd get away with it? Like whoever comes back for it's going to get it, or it's like, left over from like some sort of like drug bust or something. And you can tell like something's up with this briefcase. This is not supposed to be here. People obviously know that this briefcase is supposed to be out here. It's a big deal.
It's like a metal silver briefcase.
Yeah. Oh, yep. You open it. Yep. That's exactly what you're picturing. Yep. And you open it up and you're just like, oh my God. Like, how much would you take?
So traditionally, I don't think transactions are usually done via cash in a briefcase. We do like electronic fund transfers and wires and all that. So that there's like a red flag here of like what kind of market is doing business like this. And so
it's nefarious.
You think drugs, arms deals.
No, that's all part of the scenario. You have to consider that. These are potentially not nice dudes.
Right, because I figure whoever is going to come for this briefcase is going to come armed.
Yes.
Could I take 100K? No, like, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
So 100K. So that's a tenth, right? That's a tenth of the total if it's $1 million.
I thought about maybe going as high as 20%, but like that might be a little too noticeable.
A little off the top. Just take a couple bills off the top of each of them.
Yeah, exactly. Don't take a whole stack where there's like clearly a hole. I'm going to trim the grass.
Yeah, you want to trim the grass on the top and then make sure
no one notices. 10% off the top.
But do you think they'd be able to find you? Do you want to risk it?
How would they find me?
I don't know.
I mean, they don't have the technology to do fingerprint scans. At least they better not.
Do they?
If I'm just taking the cash, you can't track that. Like in this scenario, am I allowed to like run off, or are they like behind a hill watching me?
That's the point. You don't know.
Because if they're behind a hill just watching me, I mean, it doesn't really matter how much I take. They can just gun me down.
But again, that's the point. You don't know. Like in that moment, you don't know if people are watching you. That's you gotta feel that like, oh crap, like are people looking at me like that? Like, see, that's the thing.
Part of my thought is like, oh man, am I like on? Is this like a TV show?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like all those are very.
That's the least consequential, just like public shame, as opposed to
getting
shot.
All right, so pencil Tanner down for 20,000.
No, I said 10.
Oh, you said 10,000. I thought you said 100,000.
10%. Sorry.
Oh, 10%. So 100,000. Oh, see, I think I would go to like 50,000. Because I want it to be so little that they would be like, it's not even worth finding them. Like it's not like this guy just took a little bit, like not even like just enough to make it different for me, but not enough for them to care. I think that's where I'm at.
There is a part of me where it's like, if I take anything, like, what's the point of just taking 5,000? Like,
oh yeah, you really, because if they do find out, you're gonna die over 5,000.
Either you take 0, or you take 100%.
That's a good point because if they're gonna catch you, they're gonna.
Right, like.
Yeah, they're gonna be upset.
They're gonna be mad even if I take just 5,000, I guess. But. So what's the correct answer?
I don't know. This is
how much did you actually take in real life?
Oh, see, yeah, I did have the situation. I peed myself and ran away.
You took 0.
I looked over my shoulder. Oh, that's 0. No, I'm not. Yeah, actually, no. Actually, no. I'm not doing anything. I'm running away. This is like like dream me, where I'm like a little more bold. But no. That's my final thought. Little thought experiment. What's your final thought? Not final thought. Your extra point.
So this is unique to us. In 2023, after the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, the Cardinals hired their defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
And literally, I think it was like an hour or so before the draft, news broke that the Cardinals had to compensate the Eagles for tampering in order to get Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was some, I guess, illegal communication leading up to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, cost us the game.
You have not forgot. And it was, to correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't a penalty imposed by the league. It was just agreed upon between the teams. They allowed both the Cardinals and the Eagles to settle this deal.
Yeah.
And the deal ended up being the Cardinals had a better third-round pick. So we swapped third-round picks. So you went up about 30 spots in the third round, and then we got a fifth-round pick.
Okay.
So oddly, like it was a weird deal where you technically lose a pick at the cost of like gaining 30 spots. So clearly you thought that was more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, it's one of those things where it felt a little petty that the Eagles would fight that, because the reality is you do know there is there are certain time periods where you can communicate with coaches, and we just kind of know like there's probably communication being had that's against the rules. But immediately after the Super Bowl, NFL Network reporter Stacey Dales is interviewing Clint Kubiak of the Seahawks. He's the offensive coordinator. And while it was widely reported that he accepted the job with the Raiders, it wasn't official. And she asked him, well, what does your future look like, as a head coach going forward? And he says, well, I'm going to the Raiders. But he actually took that interview the weekend of the Super Bowl. Well, during that period, you can't make any hirings. So I don't understand. Did he not just like verbally admit that
The tampering?
he did the exact same thing? Now, I know this is on the fly, but I do have a YouTube short of that interview, and I want you to tell me how much different this feels. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this smoothly. Share screen. Let's try this. Oh, and also before I play this, I don't think we'll have any issues, but you think I'm good to play this video, or should we just, post it on our Twitter account or something?
I don't know. Maybe we should post it on the Twitter, but I think you did a good job explaining it.
But there's a video. You can clearly see there's a video when we'll just avoid that risk. But he pretty much admitted, "Hey, I'm going to Las Vegas. I'm going to be their head coach." I just want to know, like, have you heard anything about them getting penalized?
Oh no, not at all. It's definitely pretty privileged.
It's
oh, they won the Super Bowl. It's okay.
Right. Which, if the Eagles beat the Chiefs, like, is the difference between this that the Eagles lost and they gave up 35 points or 30 points? And so there was just some bitterness? Is that the difference here?
Oh,
if
there's
the
definitely
Seahawks
bitterness.
lost to the Patriots and they scored 9 points.
Maybe it was just Howie Roseman, like, being super petty. Like, maybe the NFL doesn't really care, but
he wasn't petty about Kellen Moore leaving. Like, was he?
No, I don't think so. But I do think that Kellen Moore signing happened.
Okay, Steichen. It was the same cycle.
It was the same cycle. And Steichen probably
not like the Colts gave up anything.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't know, man. Why'd you guys talk to us? Why'd you talk to Gannon? You
Because
guys
y'all were
obviously
in our
messed up.
facilities. That's
Yeah.
the other unique thing is that
Well, stop talking to us. We're there for business. Losers.
that year the Eagles did stay in the Cardinals facilities, and then the Chiefs stayed in the ASU's facilities.
Oh.
Because you asked me to you had a request for me. You asked me to believe it was kick Isaiah Pacheco in the ankles
Oh,
because
yeah,
you thought he was
probably.
right next door.
Yeah, I probably did say something like that. That was probably, yeah. And honestly, the way he runs, he probably needed a good kick in the ankles. Uh, but yeah, so that is interesting how they kind of
I wanted to
play it.
pull a
Like, why
Howie.
did they target the Cardinals? Like, why kick them while they're down? They've been down for so long. We don't need to kick them. Like, what's
It
the
was
point?
also a weird trade too. If you think about it, like, so we ended up getting like I think it was like the 94th pick and your fifth rounder. If you wanted to go from 94 to 66, which I think is or something like that,
Yeah,
wouldn't the cost be about a fifth round pick?
yeah. So it's just a trade.
So it was just like a trade. I don't know. I mean, it was just it was weird in the moment because like I said, it happened like an hour before the draft
I would
started.
love to get Howie Roseman on the pod. Imagine how great.
We can put a request in.
Imagine a Howie Roseman pod, dude. Like I think I would like die. I think if we got to talk to like Howie Roseman. So here's what happened with
I'd
that.
be so nervous.
Oh my god, oh my god, dude. But you know what? I think after a few minutes we'd be like just talking shop. Just talking shop,
we would
holding court.
I like to think of it as we would have been really good friends with Howie in college.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's an
We'd be
accountant. Are
watching
you kidding
preseason
me?
football.
He would have been in classes with you. He would
Yes.
have been next to him. Hey, listen, I know we're doing this now. We're gonna get in the NFL. Oh my
If
gosh,
we
that's
were
so.
friends with him in college, I don't think we'd be here right now.
No, no, no. We wouldn't. Well, we'd be making a little bit more money.
We'd be in Philly.
No, you want to know what? We'd be running our own franchises because
Oh, in
his
the
people. His people, you want to talk about like the executive branches of like like
The
NFL
trees.
executive?
Yeah.
Yeah, his tree is extensive. Like his people go all over. Like when you work for Howie Roseman, you get hired somewhere quick. It's crazy and upper management too. So, dude, if we were with Howie Roseman, whew,
Whether
we'd be
you're
prepping
like
for draft days.
you work for Howie Roseman, whether you coach under Sean McVay, how big does your head have to be knowing that the rest of the league is trying to replicate you? They're like, he is so smart and so good. We want someone who's just been around him.
I know. Well,
Like my head would be so big.
every year we see like, yeah, so and so hired Howie's executive assistants. Like, damn, like the brain drain's real. Like they just keep sucking off all of our talent, man. Like, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Like the cap guy left on his own accord. Just Joe Rosenberg or whatever, he left, and was it Barry? I think not Matthew Barry, but Andrew Barry. One of the GMs went to the Jets, and then it's so funny because I will say they all leave, but not a
Joe
lot of them.
Douglas.
What? Yeah, Joe Douglas. Not a lot of them actually have a lot of success. It's so funny.
It's honestly he's like the Bill Belichick of
Yes,
GM.
no, that's actually a very apt
There's
comparison. He
only
is,
one. You can't. You
but
can't
they
have
always try to like, oh, we want that Patriots coach. We want that Josh McDaniels. The Josh McDaniels never ends up being a good head coach, but he's good as offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick. Oh, we want. Let's see, who else was a guy? Matt Patricia. We want Matt Patricia as a head coach. Doesn't work out.
the most successful one I thought was Bill O'Brien.
Oh yeah, Bill O'Brien was a good example of that.
But
Yeah,
then
that
he
was it.
flamed out because he tried to do the Belichick. I want to be the GM and the coach,
Mm-hmm.
and famously, or I guess infamously, traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson.
Yeah. Gosh. Oh my gosh. What a trade. God, what a trade. That ended up working out so well for you guys. I know it's like, so long ago, but man,
Well, what was hard is it ended abruptly and like with a bang. We just had to flat out cut him. I tell you what, though, those 3 years we got out of D Hop were so worth a second round pick.
No, they were top 5 receiver in the league seasons. I mean, like
Yes.
you could. I mean, that's hard to come by. I
And
mean, it's
when
really
D
hard.
Hop got hurt and it was like the Lane Johnson effect, like the team went as D Hop went.
Yeah.
I mean, I think teams kind of overvalue draft picks in that sense, where it's like you don't have to get a 10-year starter for these second round picks to be worth something.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get some high level production, and or you can just get guys who completely like don't ever do anything with the second round pick. So
Yeah.
yeah, give me D Hop.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of leads us because we hit our hour and a half mark. It's so funny. I think it's like a 4-week stretch where I say, yeah, this pod's not going to be that long, and then we're at an hour and 30
Yeah.
minutes. Listen, you can set your watch to us, guys. You can if you have an hour and a half of free time, better odds than not, you can throw us on, and you're going to get through that hour and a half block of time. You might not enjoy it. No, I'm just kidding, but you're gonna get through it. So we're gonna end it around here. Next week, we're gonna talk about our offensive breakdown for the NFL draft. Me and Tanner are gonna start hitting the books, read those paragraphs. It is officially paragraph season, so we're gonna start reading the paragraphs. We're gonna let other people tell us what to think, and then we'll tell you what to think about players. That's kind of how this works. We'll read what they think, and then that'll be our opinion, and then we'll tell you what to think. So be excited for that. We love the trickle down economics of NFL knowledge. So you'll get that distilled, refined, knowledge, based on other people's opinions, and then we'll have it, and then you'll have it. Honestly, you could just go cut the chase and just go watch Brett Coleman videos, but you don't have to worry about that.
All right, we're gonna clip that part out. No.
But anyway, no. So we're gonna do offense next week, and then defense the following week, and then the 2 after that, we will probably do some sort of mock draft. I don't know how we're gonna set it up yet, but I do know we want to do some sort of mock drafts because it'll be 2 weeks out at that point. Mock drafts will be coming like fast and furious. We'll be seeing like updates every couple days, and of course we want to get ours out there too to make sure we know that we're on the record for our picks and some players we want to see, players we want to avoid, all that good stuff for the NFL draft. So how's that sound as a schedule, Tanner? Does that sound pretty good?
I'll make it work.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, he's Tanner. I'm John, and this was Birds Coast to Coast. Thanks for stopping by, guys.